even though it was dim in the candle-lit cellar and murky with the smoke of many cigarettes. I had been sitting at the same table right smack in front of the raised stand every night for a week. During the week before that, Kay and I had been here several times together. Kay had gone home. Her money had run out, and that was the end of her holiday. I pitied her, having to go back to the old routine where nothing exciting happened, but I suppose she didn't mind. Kay was the sort who'd get married young just for the fun of a white wedding and would settle down, shutting out all the really interesting experiences in life. My money had run out too, but I telephoned Dad collect and cried until he agreed to send me more. I said I was so happy in Sydney and I thought it might do me good to get a job and live here for a while. A job? The thought was appalling. I'd worked in a library for a while, then as a receptionist, then for exactly 2 weeks as a typist. But the good sisters had never succeeded in perfecting my spelling, and if I hadn't have become fed up and left, I just might have been sacked, even though my boss was a friend of Dad's. When the second cheque ran out, which it would soon, considering the cost of accommodation, even in a crummy little hotel, I'd have to phone and put over a really good story for more. While I was thinking about my money problem and drumming my restless fingers on the bear-stained wood of the tabletop, a young fellow came and sat down in the seat opposite me. He hadn't just come into the cellar. He must have moved from another table because he carried his cup of coffee with him. "Hi," he said. "I've been watching you." Widening my eyes into what I knew was a stare of studied, insolent one-upmanship, I cut him back to size. "How pleasant for you." He smiled in a lopsided, appreciative sort of way. It was, "You're easy on the eye and you seem to dig the sound here. Not many girls actually do. They come for lots of reasons. You're intelligent." After all, he didn't seem such a bad type. I looked again and saw that he might be 19 or 20, good-looking despite a sneering sort of expression, with brown hair that was longish and curling around the neck and ears, and a lanky frame that would be big and well covered when he reached his full growth. He wore tight-fitting blue jeans and a red bulky sweater that covered him to the hips. The blue jeans and the red sweater are almost a uniform with the teenage fellows, teamed with longish hair and outfit that gives them a medieval tunic and tights look. I liked it, occasionally, although I prefer to be with a man who's smartly dressed, with the right cut to his trousers, and the right amount of cuff showing. Anyhow, this boy's jeans and sweaters were expensive quality, and his accent was good. I decided to be gay and charming. "I'm Claudine Hamilton from Adelaide," I said. "I'd like another cup of coffee." His name was Greg Mitchell. He paid for the coffee with a look that seemed to imply he was glad that nothing but coffee could be ordered in that cellar. He was a student. His parents lived at Vaucluse, but he and a mate had bought a little old run-down terrace in Paddington and lived by themselves. With Paddington terraces fashionable and overpriced, she has no idea. I guess that his people must have had money to stake him. Greg knew the Cross and the adjacent Darlinghurst and Paddington areas like inside out, so he seemed like a good guy to take me around and show me a good time. I listened to him hold forth, first on jazz, which he really knew about, and then on the Cross. "King's Cross is a way of life as well as a place," Greg said. "Thanks for the geography lesson," I quipped. "You're welcome," he said. "Now take a history lesson. Even the type of life changes. It's always been nightlife, always hectic, but it has different angles. There was a gangster era in the late 20s and the early Depression years, the time of the razor gangs and the dope and sly gold peddlers. After the gangsters came and the era of bohemians came, the broke and struggling artists, actors and writers. The Cross was a place where they could live cheap and follow their unconventional ways of life without being bothered by the neighbours. Even when they had become successful, they stayed here because it was handy, easy-going place to live. And during the 50s, when a lot of continentals moved in, it got to be cosmopolitan but quite respectable. And what about the Cross now? A mecca for teenagers with time and energy and money to spend, and a paradise for the vice rings. Greg sneered. Then the drummer began his stint and we stopped talking again. That drummer was terrific. I felt as if I was sinking into a hypnotic trance induced by that frantic beat. I didn't have to think at all. Then it was finished, and I realised that my tail was numb from sitting on the hard chair, and I was bored from talking. I wanted to move about and see things. So that book is address, King's Cross. It's a 1964 book by a writer called Charles Barrett, who was actually a female journalist turned novelist called Marcia McEwan. McEwan wrote some 20 or so pulp novels for the Australian pulp publisher Horwitz in the first half of the 1960s under a range of pseudonyms. Many of her books were set in King's Cross, which was ground zero for a lot of early 1960s Australian pulp fiction, due to its reputation as a bohemian enclave, but also as a centre for much of Sydney's vice industry. Now, a lot of these pulp books, they deal with young people from places like Adelaide who were drawn to King's Cross and quickly got ensnared in a web of vice and degeneracy. Some, like young Claudine, enjoyed what they found.